Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Cindy Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff, and it's still Planet of the April.
Planet of the April.
Yay! You guys are loving it, right? You're like so excited to be in week 4. You're like, I hope this lasts forever. I hope there are Infinity Ape movies.
And there are, actually.
There kind of
are.
There really
are.
There's so many ape movies. We're just scratching the surface.
Mhm.
And this one, I don't know about y'all, but this one might be an infected wound on the surface to me. And
Sure.
that is
There are some nice things.
the makeup. Yeah, that's great. This is Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes 2001. And if you, like I, had the gift of not ever really knowing or seeing this movie for, 23 years of your life, and now you finally have to watch it again. IMDb says in 2029, only 4 years away from now, an Air Force astronaut crash lands on a mysterious planet where evolved talking apes dominate a race of primitive humans.
That is not true. They're not primitive at all.
Yeah,
No,
these
it's
ones
literally-
can talk.
They just wear loincloths. That's it.
And they're all like really hot. So that's cool too. I'm going to start off today's episode by opening a tall boy beer because I think
That's what it calls for.
I'm
I know.
gonna need it. But my beer is wearing, Chelsea just told me I thought it was an Ewok, a Chewbacca koozie. And it does look like it's dressed up as one of the sexy humans in the 2001 Planet of the Apes. So it's all to theme. Wow.
It also kind of looks like it could be one of the apes.
Apes. I know.
It could be an ape. Oh my God, maybe it's a hybrid child.
Yeah,
from
I
the
was gonna say
future.
the long storied
The
half human, half ape
long-awaited.
hybrid.
When will it happen? When will they
Monica
give
Beer.
us it?
Well, I will say, not that they were planning to give it in this movie, like the way that they kind of kept trying to squeeze it in the old movies, but they did want to make the romance more explicit in this movie, and the studio really, really, really shut it down. And so I just don't know. I just don't know that we're ever gonna get
This
there.
one was
I
the
think
most
romance
overt.
was very explicit
know.
in this movie.
I know.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the only way that they could justify a smooch was because it had already been done 30 years earlier. But otherwise, apparently the studio was giving like strong vetoes, like, and Tim Burton was like, "I'll make it platonic. I'll make it blah blah blah," and they were like, "No, go fuck yourself." So, but Tim Burton and the studio were
God.
having big beef this whole movie. So,
Well,
That's
I
just
mean,
the way
I
it was.
wish that they had reined him in even more. Who wrote this? Who wrote it? I want to
it
go to
was-
their house.
Yeah, it was of course based on a book by Pierre Boulle. But this
Okay, don't drag Pierre into this.
He's involved.
Pierre.
He's involved in this one
He's
almost more than
involved
the
in-
others.
Not
Not him directly,
actually. Was
I
he
guess,
still
but-
alive? Okay, I was like, not him
It's not his
directly.
fault. But William Broyles Jr., Lawrence Connor, and Mark Rosenthal wrote the screenplay.
Okay, boys, what is this shit? Gentlemen, this is like one of the cheesiest things I've ever seen. How could this movie be cheesier than the fucking one from the 60s? From
It
the
really
60s,
is
shit was
audacious.
so cheesy in the 60s a lot of the time. I mean, tastes were different, whatever. This is cheesier. 2001 had its own, sorry, the early aughts had their own brand of cheese, of course. There's cheese in every decade. We couldn't have a lactose intolerant decade. It wouldn't work. But my God. Also, like Tim Roth. I think it's like also due in part to Tim Roth, who really put his whole Tim Roth tussie into this. He really laid it all out there on the dance floor. But sometimes you should do less, and that's something I never say. But I feel that way now.
I'm very glad that you're bringing hater vibes because I was worried with everything you've been saying about the book that you were gonna love this one the most, and that we
No.
were gonna just be fighting all episode long.
There's
So I'm really glad.
there's so much that I actually really, really loved about this,
Yeah.
but like the words coming out of everyone's mouths were just I wanted to put it on mute and just look at
Yeah.
it. I really liked the way that it looked. I was obsessed with the way that it looked. Like pretty much all aspects of the way that it looked, I was very interested in. Like the costuming was fucking so cool for this. I love that obviously Rick Baker did the makeup for this and it was incredible. Like let's start there. How cool is it to see practical effects apes and just see the jump from the 70s ones we've been watching where their mouths actually move when they talk? When the apes talk, their mouth move. Like just that, I was like, whoa.
How nice was it that the
Crazy.
apes had tightliner on?
Yes! They answered the question. We knew Rick wouldn't forget about tightlining the eyes. Come
Thank
on. That's makeup
God.
101. Come on. But like it was really cool how all the apes looked. We had different types of apes. We went beyond just orangutan, gorilla, and chimpanzee. Not that far because I don't know what the name of that fourth one is. What's the one that's got the big giant face? I'm looking it up. Ape with giant face. Ape with giant face. Google shirt. Shirt. All right. It'll load and then I'll tell you. But there was even more ape diversity. That's exciting. And they all had cunty hairstyles. At least all the ladies
Girl
did.
apes. And they
Yeah.
had lots of girl apes. That's an improvement on the original,
Yes.
sort of.
Although girl apes had like sleigh hairdos.
Oh my God, why
Yeah.
did they have those haircuts? I mean, not that they're not kind of the moment, but they all just have these like human bob haircuts. And I was just like, what is the cultural significance of this within ape culture, I wonder?
I
One of
don't
those apes
know
had a
that.
silk press. I'm just saying.
I'm really mad because I'm trying to look up this ape with the giant face. Oh, it's just a fucking orangutan with a bigger face, maybe.
That's what I
I'm
thought. But then
mad.
I was like, well, what do I know?
But that's not how all orangutans look. It must be a special different one. For example, the Bornean orangutan. That one has the big face.
Yeah,
Like from
it's
Borneo.
the flange is what it's called. And we brought it up very briefly last episode because when Caesar gets in with the orangutans in Conquest, when he's like hiding with the shipment that came in from Borneo, those all have cheek flanges, and none of the rest of the orangutans in this series do. But
I'm going to be so honest that I say orangutan every time and I won't stop because it's just a special thing
sounds
about me and
better.
I just realized
It's
it
an
right now.
orangutan.
I think I'm thinking about Tang, the drink, the
Yes,
popular
also
orange
orange.
flavored drink that
it
also
does feel like there
used
should be a G at
apes.
the end. Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you.
Anyway, so I'm just owning up to that now. So if you're thinking it, I know and I won't stop. Anyway, okay, fine. We didn't get more than 3 types of apes. That's fine. But we had a lot of diversity of look. And I feel like the weird ape colorism, classism thing wasn't as prominent in these movies. Everybody kind of is an asshole except for Helena Bonham Carter ape.
Ari, the
Yeah.
only character whose name other than Captain Leo Davidson, they really emphasize it's like, Ari, Leo Davidson, and Thade, and then everybody else is just kind of like blonde woman.
Don't forget Pericles.
Oh, Pericles.
Pericles, which also, if everybody knows,
Hercules. I like that better. Perky Hercules.
all right. That one Scooby Doo series that I love, one of the villains is a tiny little bird named Professor Pericles.
Oh, wait, what's Pericles' Pericles from Greek
It's from
mythology, right?
Shakespeare.
Oh, it's from Shakespeare.
We did that play.
Shit. We did? Me and
Yeah,
you?
high school. Well, I was
I wasn't in it though.
assistant
I
director.
just did makeup.
Yeah,
for
but
that
we
one.
worked on it.
Yeah, well, I didn't listen to what you guys were saying on stage. I just painted your face.
You didn't remember? You never heard the name of the play?
No, I never heard the name of the play. No, now that you're saying that in that context, I do remember.
Yeah.
You
Pericles,
unearthed
it's
a
from
memory.
Shakespeare. It was a character and the name of the play. And Oberon, the name of the ship in this movie, is also from Shakespeare. Do you know what it's
Oh.
from, Monica?
Yeah, it's from A Midsummer Night's Dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, that's the theme for my birthday party.
Yeah.
But I wasn't paying attention when I watched the movie for it most recently. I just was going on vibes, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch it really soon, so don't worry. Before the party actually happens. Now you know that we recorded all of Planet of the April in March, so there you go. Is it sacrilege?
No.
You guys have to suffer through
no.
5 consecutive weeks of Planet of the April. We knocked it out in 3.
Yeah.
But guess
did it
what?
pretty
We're
quick.
also
We
going to
suffer.
have to live it for all of April too. So really, it is 8 weeks of our lives. So
Yeah, it's really we're really in
I
the
apologize
ape
to you,
shit
but it's
right
really
now.
a struggle for us.
We're going ape shit right now. Okay, but like, yeah, we make you guys watch a lot of bad movies sometimes, but there's interesting things about them. Like, we have a whole opportunity to talk for an hour and a half about how much Mark Wahlberg sucks. And isn't that a wonderful time
Yes.
to talk? Isn't that so great to get? Because I was texting you guys today because I just watched this literally 5 seconds ago. That's what I'm coming to the club with. I read the book 3 weeks ago, and I came to the club watching the movie one time 2 minutes ago. Mark Wahlberg is not even that hot, so I don't understand. He's not very good of an actor. Maybe he's done something. I liked Boogie Nights, but like
He
that's
was
not
also
like
good
him.
in that movie with Reese Witherspoon that we did.
Yeah, Fear
because
was
he
great. But
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Played
That's
playing
a
a thug.
psychopath, and that was so believable for him as a person.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's just playing a fucking psycho thug because he is one. Sorry, yes, Chelsea.
Do you know what role he gave up so that he could do this movie?
Oh my God, did everybody do something like this and tank their career? Go.
Maybe he was supposed to be Linus in Ocean's 11. And then
Which
Matt Damon
one's
got the role.
Linus?
That's Matt Damon.
Oh,
Thank God.
thank
Matt
God he
Damon
wasn't
is
in that because I
Amer-
love Ocean's
I
11.
know.
And Matt Damon is America's national treasure. I'm just saying. I love
Yes.
him.
I
Can
still
you
haven't seen
imagine, though,
Eurotrip, but I
spurning
was singing
Ocean's
Scotty
11 for
Doesn't Know
this?
last night. Can you imagine you were going to be Snape and then instead you chose to be Thade in this movie? I'm talking about you, Tim Roth. He was going to be Snape in Harry Potter. If you are our patron, you already know about this because Ashley told us this in the exclusive content on a couple weeks ago's episode. But my God, watching it now, I'm just like, really? You gave up that for this?
I think,
Really?
this movie didn't
Well, thank God.
exist yet when they all agreed to help make it, They could only
Yeah, it's
look at the
true.
originals and go, masterpieces, incredible,
Yeah,
iconic,
of course.
cultural icons. I want to be part of that movement.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a big problem with this movie, per IMDb trivia, at least didn't do any other research because not my business. But per IMDb trivia, 20th Century Fox was extremely, extremely married to a July 2001 release date because I guess they wanted it to be like
about
a big summer blockbuster. So everything just got completely rushed. Like Rick Baker, for example, he said it would have been like a year of work to do 500 ape makeups, but they had to do it all in 4 months. And he started designing like the ape prosthetic faces on like life casts he already had for other actors because they didn't even have time to like start making life casts for the actual cast before they had to start doing the design. So everything was just like squished and they didn't have enough time for the script. And even Tim Burton famously hates this movie and like would sneak out of the premieres once the lights went down. So everybody involved kind of knows it was a fucking flop. But
Well, okay, yeah, but like the script's the first thing you have. Sorry, the script is like one of the first things that you have.
Like, you need the
And
script
that's
to
the
be
part-
good at least.
is I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted by the twists and turns that this takes, because they're like, let's do 5 twists. The first one did 1 twist. The second one did like maybe 2 twists. Third one did 1 twist, 2 twists, the beginning twist, the end twist. We're like, let's do as many as we possibly can and make it a whole fucking mess. It's just ooh, ooh, ooh. It was unbelievable. But exciting. But exciting. But exciting. I was excited from the very beginning because I was like, look at their cunty little white leather space outfits. That's so nice. That's so great. And also, I texted you guys this. I was like, I'm having gay thoughts from almost moment 1, not the monkey and Mark Wahlberg. Sorry, chimp. Excuse me, the chimp, not Pericles and Mark Wahlberg. That's not what I'm talking about. Though maybe there was something there. I'm talking about the woman who works with
Yeah.
all of the
Mhm.
chimpanzees. That's a lesbian.
Yes.
And I
Even
agree.
says she's like, I'd rather date an ape than a man, almost. So good for her. I love
feel
that for
like
her.
I don't know if this is because you texted that and I started the movie 1 minute after you.
I poisoned the well.
Well, you didn't say what you thought your gay thoughts were, but you said they were very 1 second in and I'm having gay thoughts. And I was wondering what they were. And then as soon as I thought that woman, I was also like, well, she's gay. So
Well,
there you
she's
go.
gay. Yeah. There you go.
That's
At
a
least
gay
we
woman
get
for
some
sure.
100%. She's not giving Mark Wahlberg. She could have just be a woman who's smart and not giving Mark Wahlberg the time of day. So there's
She's
that.
gotta
But
be a lesbian if she's not into him.
who wouldn't be into Mark Wahlberg? My God.
Marky Mark.
Ugh.
Did you know,
It is a
because he's a
fun name.
bitch, he refused to wear a loincloth in this movie because he didn't want people to think of his underwear modeling career because he's a serious actor now, you guys. That's why he's in 2001 Planet of the Apes.
Ugh.
Well, I'm really glad he made that choice because I wouldn't have wanted to see any more of him than I had to.
That's
to
true.
be
That's
so
true.
honest.
Let's
wanna
let him
see-
keep his clothes on, actually.
Let him keep that little ripped up top.
I want to see everybody in a loincloth, actually. So.
Oh, you think you're
Fair.
better than
That's
Charlton Heston, who was in this movie? I don't know if you guys
You're
knew that.
Is he
What?
where?
He does a little cameo. He's Thade's father, whose name
That's
is
him!
J.S. Yeah. And
JS.
apparently,
Oh fuck.
like Dr. J.S. from the original.
Yeah.
But Tim Roth apparently has big one-sided beef with Charlton Heston because I guess Charlton Heston was very involved with the NRA and Tim Roth is very anti-gun. And so he's like,
Ooh.
I don't know that I would have agreed to do a scene with him if I had known ahead of time that blah 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 blah. And then especially like the scene is like, here's gun, and then he like cuddles it.
Yeah,
So
it's literally a gun scene. Wow.
here's gun. Charlton
Heston.
Heston NRA from my hands to yours. Yeah.
That's one of the scenes where I rolled my eyes so hard they almost fell out of my head. Because I can't remember exactly, because again, watched this once 5 minutes ago. But like I feel like Thade was like, no, father, or something like that in that scene. It was like so outrageous. I was like, okay, good. Let's make it so
I love-
cheesy.
When the father just like pushes his hand out and then all of a
Oh no,
sudden.
that's what it was. That's what it was. He was
The
like,
deathbed fist bump.
I was emotionally moved.
Yeah.
I was moved. Yeah.
I guess you guys were
But,
talking
like-
about a different moment than I was though, because that's his when he actually dies. But when they walk in and he's on his deathbed, I mean they're doing like an ape thing, but it's a deathbed fist bump is what it is.
Oh, I mean that's important.
That's
Whatever
what
type of ritual you want to have on your deathbed, go off. Those are your final moments. You can do that. What I think is really special about this movie though is that like the kind of like thesis statement is like man's ego, specific one man, Mark Wahlberg's ego can destroy the entire universe. Because like really he just thought he was so much better than that monkey. To go out there, ape, sorry. I'm really fucking it up these days.
Who are you,
But
Adam?
I know. I'm sorry. We're a bigoted couple where we call apes monkeys.
Yeah, before
I
we
have no
recorded,
respect
Adam
for
came
this
in here,
movie.
was talking about monkeys.
Yeah, he thought we were covering Better Man, so he was a little confused. Um, which I actually went to karaoke last night. One of my friends did a Robbie Williams song, and that was my first time ever hearing a Robbie Williams song. And in a twist of fate, I said, were you a big Robbie Williams fan before?" And she said, "No, I had no idea who he was until I watched Better Man." It was Caitlin. Chelsea,
Wow.
you were on.
Well.
Chelsea was on their Pod Scaredy Chats. So anyway,
Scaredy chat, yeah.
Oh, scary chat. Excuse me. Singular chat. One chat.
Just one.
Just one. Okay. But yeah, we're not doing that movie. We're unfortunately doing this one. But yeah, what a fuck up. What happened, do you think? So was that a storm that created time travel?
Well, I don't know. It's like definitely the electrical interference, blah 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 blah, and that's, you can tell that's actually what was happening because they were receiving every transmission from Earth of all time all at the same time.
Look,
so it was like
there's
time
Hitler.
collapsed.
Right.
Yeah, so was one of them Hitler?
One of them was Hitler.
Oh my god, I did not know that Hitler sent a transmission into space, but
Hitler. I think
he
it was just like
wanted world
anything that was on
domination, I
TV.
guess.
I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like lots of things, and I was like Hitler, and he kept going, and I was like, oh Jesus, okay. Something that is interesting that you find out at the end. Sorry, jumping all around, but like when you see that like guy giving the Mayday, and they're like, oh, it's Mark Wahlberg. I don't care what his real name is. What his name is in the movie. It's like, oh, it's Mark Wahlberg, and it's his Mayday, and it's like an old like guy, but like that was the guy looking at the screen. That was his Mayday signal from the end of the movie, right? Or no?
I don't know
I
what
think
you're
it
talking
was.
about.
You know, at the end of the movie when Mark Wahlberg watches the fucking shit that from the what's the name of the ship?
The Oberon. Yeah, but I don't know
Yeah.
why you're saying the
Oberon.
signal that he was watching was from him.
I think it was because it looked like the same guy. Like, remember at the end, it like shows the like an older
No, it was definitely
man.
not Mark Wahlberg. It was definitely
It
the
wasn't
other
Mark
guy.
Wahlberg. But then when at the beginning of the movie, when the captain is watching the Mayday signal come in right after they see Hitler and all the other shit, then the Mayday signal comes in and they think that it's Mark Wahlberg, but it doesn't look like him at all. They're saying Mayday, Mayday. It's because it's not Mark Wahlberg. It's like the same transmission from the end of the movie. I think. I'll double check right now. Does that make sense? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Do you remember in the beginning?
I kind of know what you're talking about, but I feel like when all the transmissions were coming in was before they sent Pericles out to check out the storm.
No. Well, that part, but then they get the Mayday signal. Sorry. Okay, you're right. You are right. But they get the bunch of different transmissions. Then they send Pericles out. Then Mark Wahlberg goes out. Then they get a Mayday signal, which they think is from Mark Wahlberg. I'm 99% sure. I'm going to check it out. Okay, whatever. If I'm wrong, then you can punch me in the face next time we're in physical proximity to each other. But I'm pretty sure. It's just another one of the like confusing fucking twists and turns of this movie that they're trying to do something. And it's like, you didn't have to do 5 things. You could have done one thing well instead of 5 things bad.
Yeah. I think if I'm remembering correctly, it is like their own made if I am, I mean, I'm kind of extrapolating because I don't remember that Mayday part from the beginning, but if it's their own transmission, I think something in IMDb trivia was talking about that was like to show part of the thing, but I think it was just part of all the transmissions that they were getting. I think once Mark Wahlberg was out in his Delta spaceship, other than a little bit, we didn't really go back to the Oberon.
Okay, so Mark Wahlberg goes out on his little ship and then he gets hit by a blast of time, magical, electrical energy. Something happens, whatever. And then it cuts back to the Oberon, and the whole crew is like, oh shit, there's a Mayday signal coming in really strong. And it cuts to this old man with a little mouthpiece in, and he's saying, Mayday, Mayday, we need help. And it's cutting out, cutting out, cutting out. Now I'm going to the end of the movie to see if it's the same thing as at the end of the movie.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
I just don't think that they thought it was Mark Wahlberg.
that's what you're arguing with me about. Oh my god. Okay, well, I thought you just thought it didn't happen. No, yeah, I think they're like, oh, there's this Mayday signal coming in. There's no like understanding of what is going on. But like for you as a watcher, while you're watching it, you're like, that's not Mark Wahlberg. What the fuck is going on? But then at the end of the movie, that's the exact same Mayday thing that you watch when Mark Wahlberg is reviewing the tapes of the Oberon's demise. And
Mhm.
so what I was trying to get at is that like there's like a time loop happening right there where they're seeing their future in that moment
Yeah.
on the Oberon right after Mark goes there. Yeah, that's all I was saying. I don't know what you thought I was saying, but that's what I was
It was
saying.
when I thought you were saying that they thought it was coming from Mark Wahlberg, and I was just like, no, I don't think they thought that.
Oh, I feel like it could go either way, but like
Sure.
because
It doesn't
Mark
really
Wahlberg
matter.
had literally just shot out into space and then got hit by a electrical lightning or whatever the fuck. Um, but yeah, it's just another thing. Like whenever you play with time, like I feel like you really need to like think things through in the movie. And it's just they just did like 14, they just did 14 things. Like they didn't have to do that then. It's just all so much. It's just it's more it's not more is more right now. It's like more is too much.
Yeah, I read everything on IMDb trivia. There are some things on there that are actually like genuinely helpful that I think explain the ending or at least help make sense of the ending um in ways that we can discuss as we move further into the film. But that part I think is I don't think that part is too much. I kind of like that because if they're saying like all transmissions from all time all at once, I like that they're including something that we later find out is from the future too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just one of five twists. I
Yeah.
don't hate it. It's just like there's five twists, you know what I mean? It's like they're trying to out Shyamalan
The
M. Night. You can't
they're
do
trying to
it.
out Shyamalan the master.
Uh-huh. um, I really thought that I loved that Pericles was such a big part of this movie because there's like a part in the book where there is also a chimp that makes it to the planet. Um, and unfortunately, he's like immediately killed in the book because one of the
Oh.
humans sees him and they think that's a fucking ape. That's one of the people who tries to kill us all the time. So they like strangle him to death. It's like one of the opening parts of the book as soon as they like first make soon as the astronauts first make contact with the humans, they like see this hot girl, they're like holy shit, and then they're like, oh, there's our ape coming back, thank god, because they had gotten separated. The ape had like run away when he was scared. um and then they're like, oh perfect, there he is, and then immediately the woman like goes and like strangles him to death. So I had a feeling that Pericles was gonna come back in some regard, like as an homage to the book. But I couldn't have anticipated the the way that it happened. um but I did like that about it. That was like a nice little nod.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say for Mark Wahlberg's character in this movie is like he does think that he is better than everybody and under no one else's authority, even though he is
Mhm.
literally part of the US Air Force and presumably you're supposed to understand and recognize chains of authority there. But he does like
You'd
his
think.
chimpanzee. He has bonded with Pericles, even if he teases him, and that lady's like, "Don't tease them," makes them aggressive. Um, but even so, he's like, you can't just sacrifice my chimp. I'm gonna go save him. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I also felt like he had like a learning experience through the movie, what like that made him even more appreciative of apes and whatever as the movie progresses, cuz he's like, "Whoa, fuck. They can grow to speak and have cunty hairdos. Incredible. I should respect Pericles more." But I think one of the biggest, most important parts of this film that really is like the saving grace of the entire thing, but is also part of the reason why it's not good a little bit too, because it makes it so cheesy, is Paul Giamatti.
He's so funny in
I
this.
Thank
uh,
God for
n-
him.
it's not for me. He's doing his thing, but it is just for me. It is like, I mean, I can't take this movie seriously. I have no ability to take this movie seriously. But
No,
Oh, yeah.
it's so bad. But also, Paul Giamatti makes a really convincing orangutan. You know,
he does.
When
That's
Like,
for
I
sure.
saw
he
that
looks
he was in this
identical to
movie,
a Google picture that I pulled up recently.
no, I literally was like, "Oh, Paul Giamatti is gonna be in the 2001 Planet of the Apes. He will be an orangutan." Like, you can tell by
It's
who
just
he
so
is that he is
obvious.
gonna be an orangutan. I love him. Yeah, no, that's what I meant though. Like, it's just like, thank God he's in this movie because it is so funny and it made me laugh and it made me have some points of joy throughout watching this 2 hour long film. But also, is he a big reason that the movie is bad? Yes. But it can be both, I think, in my opinion. It's like I just can't believe that this, I don't know. I didn't give it the attention maybe it deserves, but maybe I gave it just the amount of attention it deserves.
That it
But like
wants.
this, that yeah, like I couldn't, if I had paid more attention, I would be more upset. Um, but like, I can't believe that a 5 film series that was so political and so daring and so like trying to make a statement didn't do it perfectly all the time, but it was really doing something really brave for the time. They like took that
Because
and
they're
they're
such
like, let's make it,
active
yeah,
conversations too. They were speaking so
in
to
the
the
middle,
moment.
to the moment, to the exact moment. And then they're like, you know what? What if we just like do that movie like again, but like make it like meaningless somehow?
Yeah. Go ahead,
These
Sydney.
movies are not political, actually, and so we're gonna make it not
Just like the
political.
writer
Well,
said, there's
here's the
still stuff.
thing. That's what I felt like the first time I watched this movie, and then in rewatching it today, I was like, well, they are doing some political things. They're just not doing anything that the original franchise didn't already do. They're not adding anything new to the
No,
conversation at all. They're not
it's not
speaking at
meeting the moment
all
of
to
2001.
right. They're not speaking at all to the current moment in terms of politics or culture.
This is
And
pre 9/11, also.
this is sure, and I have something to say about 9/11 later. But
Thank God.
yeah, thank God.
Our 9/11 queen, Chelsea Duff. has
Thank
something
you
to
so much.
say.
That's what they call me. The problem with this movie is that they're also just like not good at it. Like the
Yeah.
originals, the first one and 1 and 3 especially are really good in terms of speaking to like science versus religion and animal testing and the way that we treat animals. And then like 4 really speaks to like slave labor and slave rights and uprisings and labor rights. And you get a lot of dialogue in this movie that like wants to have something to say about it but just like doesn't really have something to say because
Yeah. It's
they
so
are
muddled. The
making
message is muddled with all
yeah
this bullshit.
by virtue of making the humans able to speak and of the same intelligence as the other humans, but by also making them not like kind of an animal comparison because that one little girl is a pet, but they're also just like slaves. Um, they just are really losing like what they're trying to speak to
Yeah.
exactly. And then they just like throw it's like everything that is like a political statement in this movie is just like set dressing. Like they get into it, they're like, oh, he's a house human, like as opposed to like a house slave. He's a house human. He thinks he's part ape. He's better than us other slaves that have to do other labor. Like they get into stuff like that, but just not anything meaningfully beyond that. They're just taking things that people have said about race and slavery, and then they're changing one of the words to ape or whatever, and then they're like, mission accomplished.
We did it.
We did it.
I think that making the humans talk really, you lose so much. You gain Chris Christopherson saying things to you and looking
Which
hot,
is
and
really
that is
important.
so
He's very handsome in this role.
important.
Yeah.
And Estella Warren is also very gorgeous as Dana, I guess is
Whose
her
name is maybe never said in the movie.
Right?
Yeah, I never heard that once. I was sure it was going to be Nova when I actually looked it up. I didn't know anybody's name.
I
Oh,
saw
Paul
it in the
Giamatti's
subtitles
character's
once.
name is
That was it.
Limbo.
Mhm.
But like here, that's just what's so frustrating because the fact that the humans cannot speak alienates the Taylor, the Ulysses, the Brent character that we've had in the past because they see someone who looks like them but they're not like them, and then they see something that's not like them and they are like them in the fact that they are intelligent, and that's like a brain fuck that like makes them have to think on a level that they hadn't had to before. And so there isn't like there isn't the like push for Mark Wahlberg's character to ingratiate himself with the apes in the same way as his stand-in character had to in previous iterations of this film. You know, like there's like the kinship between him and Ari is on a whole different level. It doesn't mean the same
It's
thing.
all
It is
just based on Ari's
strictly
horniness.
sexual.
She's
Yes.
she's
It's
sure is
just
something.
horny. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, what an interesting choice to make it just a romance thing. Like, obviously, there's more, but it's like it's mostly a romance
He
thing.
really is
Like,
just
I didn't
very
want it to
charmed
be,
by him.
yeah, I didn't want it to be the same movie again
Yeah.
necessarily, but also like maybe I did if the other option was this. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's what I have to say about 9/11. Do you guys
Let me
remember?
talk. Wait, here, let's talk about 9/11. Actually,
Yeah,
sorry,
9/11.
Do you
go.
guys remember what Mark Wahlberg
9/11.
said
Of course,
about
I'll never
9/11?
forget. Sorry, no. Say
I
what
will
you said.
forget about what Mark Wahlberg said about 9/11 though. So
I've never
please
thought
tell
about
us.
Mark Wahlberg and 9/11 in the same moment until now. Continue.
He said if he'd been on one of those planes, 9/11
Oh, yeah, I
wouldn't
do.
have happened. He said if I were there, I would have stopped it.
That's true, though.
And well, that's what makes me so mad about this movie, especially with the humans' ability to like speak and reason and have the same level of intelligence, is like for whatever reason, they just still need to wait for Mark Wahlberg to come and save them, just like he would have saved everybody from 9/11.
Yeah.
Like they just nobody makes anybody. This one's like she's a little difficult, but like they still need Mark Wahlberg to come and be their savior.
Literally, the apes don't. I'm trying really hard. The apes don't have guns. Like what is what is holding them back? Like, yes, they have cool pointy hats. They have horses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you could find a horse. You could do something. There's things that they could do. I don't understand. They needed a
Okay,
catalyst. They needed someone to bring them together, and it's Mark Wahlberg.
I'm skipping to the end of this movie in many ways because I don't care to preserve
for it.
spoilers for anybody
No,
with this
fuck it.
movie.
It's fine. Yeah.
But they reveal at the end of the movie, Simos is like their god. That's part of the lore. I don't know how much that was part of the things that you missed, but Simos is their god.
This is the part where I
and-
wanted you to explain because a little bit more because I feel like I was not paying attention as much as I should have when they explained
Yeah,
their
it's
their
like
ape god.
Simos they're kind of not like a full holy trinity, but they kind of do this thing where it's like Simos was the first ape, but Simos was the father of all the apes, and Simos is who we pray to, but the Almighty gave life to Simos. So it's like kind of, classic
Jesus.
God Jesus kind of thing, but
Yeah.
in one, which arguably is the same with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But so Simos was created in Kalima, where life began. And then over the years, Fade's bloodline is a direct descendant from
Semos.
And then Semos is the one who like was the first ape, blah 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 blah. And Semos is gonna return one day, just like Jesus. And they don't really have that much else to say about it necessarily. But then at the end, when you get to all of the transmissions from the Oberon, when Mark Wahlberg discovers his ship that's been here for thousands of years, but everything still works because it runs on nuclear power. That's their one little wink at Beneath, I guess. But
they said the word nuclear.
They
so.
said the word nuclear. Good enough for me.
Dang. Feels good.
Semos was one of the apes on board the ship that the lady in the beginning was like training, that they were working with, that were sort of their canaries in the coal mine for space exploration or whatever else they were doing with them. And Mark Wahlberg says in the beginning about Pericles that he is a gene spliced, chromosome enhanced, state of the art monkey. He says, I would never. But
Chelsea.
he says, I'm just
Chelsea,
quoting him.
You can't say the M word.
They call someone a human lover in this movie, which really is reminiscent because there was that moment in Conquest
they call
where someone
Ari
is being
a human lover.
Yeah, there's that moment in Conquest when the Mr. McDonald is trying to intervene, and then they're like, "Oh, of course he sympathizes." Like, I really was reminded of that slur that people use of like N-word lover.
Yeah.
How dare they be too sympathetic to other human people?
How dare they treat other people like other people?
Yeah, they really like go to it in this movie. They're like,
No
"Oh,
one should
human lover, blah blah blah."
Don't treat anyone with respect. My God.
My God. But then we get the word from her that Semos like rose up amongst the apes on ship and like led the revolt basically. And so he was just like the smartest of those apes, and then they kind of turned the tables on the humans, and that's what kind of eventually presumably factioned off into like the humans who live in the wilderness and the apes who live in ape society as they like continue to evolve over time, to the point of being able to speak. I don't know what gene splicing they were doing, maybe with humans, but who can say what was gone?
Well, that chimp had some fucking dexterous hands. I know that they do. Pericles, they kept showing his hands, moving the dials, doing all that jazz. I was like, can chimps do that in real life? I know
Probably.
They got
thumbs.
I know they
that's
got
what they thought
fangs,
Cornelius and Zero were doing on that spaceship when they came to Earth in the beginning of
Yeah.
3 Escape.
They were trained to press button after button.
Yeah,
that's crazy
but
to me. But
they're doing that.
I
kind
guess
of
I'm
like
not ready for the ape uprising. It's coming
Yeah.
though.
They're doing that sort of
We only got
cyclical
5 more years. I'm just saying.
storytelling. I know it's coming up. That
5
kind of
more years.
cyclical, that kind of cyclical storytelling, where it's like Semos was the leader and he rose up against unfair, unpaid labor of the apes, and overthrew it. And then Mark Wahlberg comes and he is the leader and he overthrows the unfair, unpaid labor of the humans, blah, blah, blah. But Semos is kind of like they say like, oh, the chimps are like stronger and smarter than we expected. One male named Semos, who I raised myself. So like, I guess Semos is not necessarily like any different than the other apes. So it is kind of the same thing with Mark Wahlberg. But it just really drives me crazy that Mark, if I was on those planes 9/11, wouldn't have happened Wahlberg. They need to wait for a man from the US Air Force to come and save them because they're so incapable of possibly even considering it themselves.
And not just any Air Force. The U.S. Air Force. Okay? So don't get it twisted. I just was doing some Googling because something I wanted to bring up was the swimming thing.
Oh yeah, is that real?
It is apparently. Apparently that they can't necessarily swim, but there are some in captivity that do, and they like it.
Oh.
I googled it and it's
It's
the
not a
AI
native
overview.
behavior, but
While some apes like chimpanzees and gorillas are not naturally inclined to swim and often avoid water, it's important to note that some apes, like Cooper the chimp and Surya the orangutan, have been documented swimming and diving. So two specific apes,
Apes.
actually like it quite a bit. So I just want to remember that. Don't forget.
yeah, sure.
But yeah, I thought that was such a interesting, like, kind of like fatal flaw almost of all of the apes, that like they were fucking terrified of water. That like really threw me through a loop. I mean, yeah, I guess it's based in reality, so you can bring reality into
Are
the
they?
story.
I wonder if they're.
It's also very M. Night Shyamalan of him in Signs.
Oh, they're trying to jack his swag yet again.
Well,
I actually think
when did
Signs came out
comes
after this.
Did
Yeah, next year.
2002.
M. Night
Yeah.
get inspired by
Wow.
Let's be real, and that was already writing Signs way before this movie came out.
M. Night doesn't work on that sort of a production turnaround like this movie
To
does.
make something so beautiful and so symbolic of God and Jesus and Mel Gibson, no, will take much longer than just a year.
I wonder if chimps can really jump that high too, because all of the jumping and leaping in this movie is
What
very
the
like
fuck?
kung fu movie superhero
It's
style.
Cirque du Soleil. It's fucking Cirque du Soleil. Wait. Sorry, non sequitur. I was thrown by that. Like what did make for a much more dynamic fight scene when everyone was flying in the fucking sky. Than like, for example, Battle for the Planet of the Apes was the most like
Kinda snooze.
annoying fight scene ever. So it was visually stimulating, but I was also like, what?
Very hard to take seriously.
But my favorite jumping scene. Can we just like really quickly talk about the fucking scene? The like, was it prostitution or were they?
Scooby Doo like running through all of the houses, and there's
Yes.
that one like lap dance moment.
That's with the gorilla or with the orangutan, who I thought was a different type of orangutan, but he just has, what did they call
A really big
phalanges?
face, the phalanges, yeah.
Phalanges. He just is a big faced man. But what were they doing? They're like, they're like screaming at each other. Their pre-fornication screaming. It's so important, and people don't do that enough.
Sure, yeah. I think it is such an interesting choice to say the apes are the dominant species here and the apes rule society, but unlike the original movies, we want them to really clearly still have ape behaviors. And I think that
like
is a
that.
very interesting choice. Personally, I find it extremely annoying. But I
liked
recognize that it could be a
fair.
strong choice.
I liked it in the battle scenes later in this movie that they like moved more like natural
Mhm.
apes instead of humans. But in there, when they were like doing like real human-y stuff, I was like, okay, why are they doing that?
It comes out in the weirdest places sometimes. Like
Yeah,
that one where
it's not
she's butting heads
consistent.
with blonde girl Ari. And Ari like yells at her or is like, "What do you know about my father?" or something like that. And then Ari just goes, "Ah!" It's like, what are you doing? What's going? Why are you reacting that way? You're just
Yeah,
getting
she, like,
yelled at,
goes
and you're
full
making yourself
chimp.
big and yelling like.
Yeah. Well, similar thing when the water thing came up for the first time. She just sees water and she's like, ooh, oh no. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I also
Ooh,
can't believe that
oh
that was
no.
Helena. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of exactly what she said. I did not know it was Helena Bonham Carter the entire time. I knew she was in this, but I had no idea that that was her. Because
You're
I
like,
just
when-
thought for some
when's she gonna show
reason.
up, girl?
I just didn't think about her. I don't think about her. But I thought that Ari herself looks so much like fucking Princess Leia. What's her real name?
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. I thought that she looked like Carrie Fisher. I was like, why does she look like Carrie Fisher to me? It's so weird. She doesn't. Carrie Fisher does not look like a chimpanzee at all, to be so clear. But Rick made that chimpanzee look like Carrie Fisher. Anyway, so I was completely duped that it was,
Well, she was supposed
Helena
to be an
Bonham
ape
Carter.
princess at first. Maybe that was the life cast he used.
In the last, hey, that's actually
Hey.
that could be it. In the previous films, the way that they did Zira's hair, I also thought she had, like, it looked like she had like little Princess Leia buns underneath too. So there's the constant conversation between Planet of the Apes and Star Wars because they were like, "Ooh, I like a lot of that. Let's put that in our movie." It's very clear. So it's just happening again in the reverse. Um, but yeah, I think I did like how they did more ape things. Um, I thought it was visually interesting, but yeah, I don't think there's necessarily a lot of like thought out consistency in that. It's like, where's the line? Where what do you keep, what do you not keep? I don't know. It was bizarre,
I
but
do like that they put them more in like a jungle setting than like a desert setting in this one.
yeah, I love the set dressing for this. I thought that it looked really, really cool, even if it didn't always make sense.
It felt more appropriate. Know what I mean? Like apes in a
That's where
desert.
monkeys, sorry, that's where apes would choose to
Jail.
live.
I fucked it
Wow.
up so many times I can't say anything.
Sydney can
Jail.
judge because she just abstains, but she just doesn't say
uh,
either and she sneaks by.
uh, we were just talking about the Scooby Doo chase scene, and it must be brought up. The bong, the apes with the bong,
Oh, is that the like rocker apes listening to
the punk
music?
apes with the bong. Yeah, that was
So
an
I
good.
missed that
important
they
part
had a
to me.
bong. I'll have to go back and
They
look.
had a bong, dude. I was like, they don't have guns, but they have a bong. Yeah,
Well,
no, they
that's a more
have like a
important
Bong
invention.
long.
bong.
That looked like a bong to you, right, Sydney? It was like a
Yeah.
long glass thing. It was a bong. There's
It
nothing
was a
else that it
bong.
could be. It was a bong. And that's why they were being all like weird because they were doing drugs,
There's nothing
listening
going
to
on over
tunes
here. Yeah.
in their leather jackets. That's a callback to fucking Caesar in Conquest for sure.
There you
Gotta
go.
have a
Stylish
chimp
ape.
in a cunty little jacket. Okay, I did do about four, five, 5 minutes of research. How about that?
Okay.
And in the thing that I read, I thought was interesting. Apparently, in some of the extended commentary, which I would love to hear for this, because I just want to know what they were
Everybody's just trying not
thinking.
to kill themselves every time they have to comment on a scene.
Yeah, Tim Burton was saying that he was trying to show like more like diversity of what chimpanzees are and can be. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that that was interesting because he was bringing up like usually when you think of chimpanzees, you think of like a fucking cutie little guy like Pericles, who's a little sweetheart, and you're like, oh, they're so close to humans or whatever. But they can like fly into an insane and very terrifying rage. And they can really fuck people up.
We saw Nope.
We've all seen Nope.
We saw Nope.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I was just, thank you. That was the next words out of my mouth. I was like, I feel like I just saw a movie where a chimpanzee really fucked somebody up. Yeah, so that was Nope. But yeah, no, like that hasn't really been brought up as much in these films, I feel. So he was trying to like have that like dichotomy of different types of apes. So you have Ari, who is a chimpanzee who's much more human and calm and docile. So that's more like one that you might be used to seeing or is being shown in like media today, like, oh, a cute little nice chimp or whatever. And then Thade is more like the like flying into a rage, terrifying one. And then like Thade looks more like a traditional chimpanzee. Apparently, also Rick Rick Baker was like, Tim Roth's nose is not conducive to the makeup for his thing. Poor Tim Roth, he's got a beautiful, stately nose, but it was hard to put the makeup over it, so he had to do a lot of extra work to make it look how it looked. But also, like for example, the dad too, who is can't believe that's Charlton Heston. That is so insane. He was like a blonder, like white kind of looking chimpanzee, and that's another way that chimpanzees can look. So they tried to like have my more diversity in the way that every chimp or ape or orangutan looked, and I thought that that was very visually stimulating. I think that, again, turn the sound off, play a song you like, have a wonderful time with this film.
This
Look
movie's a
and do not
great
touch.
sound off background movie party. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Sure.
also,
I'll
I was really upset at the lack of archaeologic, ar- what are they called?
archaeological.
Yes.
Archaeologists.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Mhm.
Chimpanzees. Where's the psychologist chimpanzee?
Yeah.
We got
They
a
wanted to
senator.
do-
Ditch that whole scientific study of humans part completely, which I think
Yeah.
is a really fascinating part of it. But I mean, I guess they're allowed to do a different thing.
IMDb said Tim Burton wanted to give a Cornelius-like role to his friend Paul Rubens, but neither actor nor character was included in the end. So I wonder if just like production didn't come together or like script
Paul
rewrites, blah
Rubens?
blah blah or whatever. Yeah, that's
Is that fucking Pee Wee?
I think so. Yeah.
That's Pee Wee Herman. That would have been so cool. Oh my god, he would have been a great Cornelius type guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
sad.
really just only lived in the like slave discourse part of it, other than that one moment where that little girl is a pet in a cage, and then they don't really do anything with that other than she's part of the Scooby-Doo montage, and then they take her with them. But other than that, they just are not. They've got a bunch of quotes that are like sort of about it, where they're like, "Oh, I believe in freedom of speech as long as they keep their mouths shut," and like, "Oh, separate but equal, to each their own. I believe in all of that." Like blah blah. They're just like throwing in these little things. They're not really getting into any of the discourse
not
meaningfully
touching-
one
there's-
way or another.
Too much fucking running around for them to have time to think, you know? It's just like
Mhm.
a lot of action in this movie.
One thing
they
that
did try to bring. Oh, sorry, you go.
One thing that I do think is interesting is that it feels like they tried to pull a little from each of the originals, in the sense that it's like they have the man on a space exploration discovering a planet of the apes, other than the like one nuclear mention for Beneath Them, that's kind of it. And then the bit at the end, I have to go back through the electromagnetic storm, that kind of feels like the premise of 3, that they like escape going the opposite direction, and then they have like all of the slave stuff and slave revolt of 4, and then they have sort of the like, let's find a way to all live together peacefully from the end of 5. And so like it does feel like they're trying to really speak to the whole franchise. I don't know if this is all just like stuff where they're pulling from the book, and maybe it had nothing really specifically to do with the original 5 movies, but it feels like they're kind of trying to bring in a bunch of the original themes, but it is like Monica's saying, like in trying to do everything, they're not really doing anything.
Anything. Yeah. Did they really feel so unconfident that they would get a sequel? Like, obviously they shouldn't, but like they
And they
tried to do
didn't.
it all in one.
They didn't.
They
They're
felt, I
like,
think,
well, just
actually
in
very
case, let's
confident
fuck
that
it.
they would do a sequel, because that's why they had the ending the way it was, as like a cliffhanger that could be explained in the next movie.
Yeah.
But I would
And then
like
there
the
was
ending
no next movie.
explained now.
Bro.
Well, I can explain it to you the way that somebody put on IMDb, which made sense to me if you'd like.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to preface by saying a bunch of people involved in the movie went, I don't get it. I don't think it made any, like Tim Roth is like, I don't know. So that is kind of fun that even the people in the film are like, don't ask me.
To say, not me.
Truly, who's to say? Let's see if I can find any of those quotes. But yeah, Tim Roth revealed that despite multiple viewings, he was confused by the film's ending. Quote, I cannot explain that ending. I've seen it twice and I don't understand anything. So like a lot of them are
Me
just
too,
like,
actually, Tim Roth.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I've seen it twice. I don't get it.
However, Helena Bonham Carter said, quote, I thought it made sense, kind of. I don't understand why everyone went, I know the kind of doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I thought it made sense, kind of. I don't understand why everyone went, huh? it's all a time warp thing. He's gone back and realizes Thade's beat him there. So the explanation per someone random on IMDb, I don't know who wrote this, but they kind of said that going through the electromagnetic storm, you kind of like arrive in the reverse order. So in the beginning of the movies, Pericles goes through, and then Mark Wahlberg follows him, and then presumably the Oberon follows them. And then on this planet, which was uninhabited, the Oberon arrives first by thousands of years, and then Mark Wahlberg arrives way later, and then Pericles arrives last. So when Mark Wahlberg goes back through it to try and go back in time to prevent this from happening, I don't know what he's trying to do.
He's just trying
Just
to
get
go
back to
back
Earth?
to
I'm not
Earth.
sure.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just trying to go back to Earth.
But it's implied that, like, I guess it's implied that, like, if Thade went after him, Thade would have arrived before him and taken over, made it a Planet of the Apes on Earth, changed everything
I
to be.
I feel like it's simpler than that in the fact that in a way where it's not simpler than that. I think it's the highways thing. I think that he went into a different iteration of time where he didn't happen. He didn't come. He didn't make the humans and the apes equal. You know, the highways, and
Yeah.
you change lanes. That's how I interpreted it. I was just like, oh, I think this is just like an alternate universe where he didn't win. Because I think anything can happen in these movies. They're already interested. I feel like that's their nod to battle. But I could be wrong. But that's just how I interpreted it.
Do you think if you were Tim Roth, would you ask for the Abraham Lincoln statue in your ape likeness? I would be like,
Like to take home with you?
Yeah, I want life-size me as Abraham Lincoln.
I loved that part. I know it's stupid, but I finally got to have my ending that I've been waiting for.
I know. I tried so hard not to say something when you were telling us the ending last
Kelsey,
episode.
I fucking knew your face is your face. Your face was blowing up. You were like, you're like, oh, it's gonna happen on your face. I was like, well, I've seen Rise, so I knew it was gonna happen in this one. So
I just
okay,
didn't
don't
know
worry.
what to say that wouldn't
I don't
have
care
spoiled
about
it for you.
No, it's okay. You just had a face on your face. What can you do? I have a face on my face all the time. What can one do? And I'm just glad that I got to see it in some form ever. And that's why I was texting you guys. I was like, okay, I'm guessing the ending, and I didn't say what I was guessing. And then I was like, and then he like lands in Washington D.C. and I was like, oh, they're gonna do something insane right now. They're gonna do something so crazy. And I was like, no, he's in front of the Lincoln Monument or whatever it's called. And I was like, no, it can't be Abraham Lincoln. It can't be Abraham Lincoln. And it was.
But it is.
But it is.
We get Abraham Lincoln right after we just had Chimp Jesus. Like this is that's what I mean. They already just did Chimp Jesus. They ended a war with Chimp Jesus 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. And now we have Abraham Lincoln. They won't give you a rest. You thought that Chimp Jesus would be enough. It's not enough.
It's never enough.
Need Abraham. You need Abraham.
Abraham Lincoln is such a good choice of all the possible American landmarks they could have chosen. Like you were saying in the books, they like land outside the Eiffel Tower. And I think this one,
Pierre's friend.
I mean, like, what are the other options? You know what I mean? Like, if you could just do like the Washington Memorial or whatever, and then everybody who comes up is an ape, like you were saying in the books. But if you want like the face reveal on the monument or whatever, what are you gonna do? Like Mount Rushmore? You know what I mean? But Abraham Lincoln as like the person who emancipated the slaves in this movie about slavery, sort of.
The play on words
of Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I mean, it is the
it's
iconic
perfect.
choice.
It is iconic.
But I just go ahead.
I wish they hadn't made it Thade. I wish
Yeah.
that it
Right.
had been him coming. I wish it had been what it is in the book, that like he
Mhm.
came back home to Earth, because it makes sense. It makes fucking total sense, especially with the shit they set up in the beginning, where they have these special apes that have genetic shit done to them, that they're extra smart or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, where did those fucking apes come from? The United States of America. Okay, so they already had them there. So the same thing that happens on Planet X, we don't know where the fuck they are in the multitude of madness in space, could happen at home. So if it had just been like exactly like the book, where he leaves fucking Beetlejuice, wherever the fuck he is, he's somewhere out there in space, and flies back home to France, to Earth as we know it, and the same thing has happened there in the thousands of years that have happened. I love that, like that type of like, if you're gonna do the like closed loop of space travel, time travel thing, where it's like it's an inevitability, which I hate. We've had so many free will versus predestination talks on this podcast, because sometimes you have to, but like that pisses me off. But like to have it be like it's a foregone evolutionary conclusion that like the apes will come to power or whatever, and have it happening everywhere in the universe. I thought that was a very interesting concept. And it's right there in the book. And they could have done it. They just could have done that. But instead, they're like, let's go one step further. Let's
They
not.
really wanted to set up a sequel that never happened, and
They wanted
just,
Tim
I
Roth
think,
again.
yeah, it just really confused the issue to make it Fade, and so clear that it was Fade as opposed to just
Because it said
apes
fade.
taking over. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was just so, they just like overcomplicated it so much. They
They
just
should
were
have
like,
let us
whoa.
write it when we were 10, 8, 7.
They should have just put a bunch of chimpanzees in a room with a typewriter, and eventually a Planet of the Apes movie would have come out.
Correct.
Exactly. No one's thinking about that.
I do like
I
Chimp Jesus, though. I do like when
I
Pericles is
loved
coming
Chimp
down
Jesus.
and his little space pod, alpha pod,
And
and
everyone just
it
ceases.
stops the battle, and they're all like,
Yes.
Samos has returned. Yeah, and then it's just like a little chimp, his little friend.
He's like, it's me,
And I
I'm
don't.
here.
Yeah, and then he just like gives it to Ari, and it's like, take good care of him. And Ari goes, well, I won't put him in a cage, that's for sure. And then he just leaves Pericles there, and it's like, do all of these apes still think that that is their Jesus, and they're gonna treat him as that, or are they
Right.
gonna realize he's just a little baby
He's
ape
just a
that
little
can't
guy.
speak? He's just
It
a
doesn't
sweet
make-
pie.
And then the fucking, okay, what was like the blood? What was the blood that was on the ground? And then Pericles had like blood on his suit, and he was like crawling like he was injured. Did he get shot? Like, I feel like we never found out if he
Fade
was
hurt
shot.
him, I think.
I think
Oh,
it was
you just,
when
like-
he like threw him and he hit the
Oh,
wall. The
so he was
cage.
And then
just
Pericles
injured.
like went and hid in his home, which is his little cage.
Yeah, where his baby would have been, because he was about to be a father when
I
he got
know.
sent through time.
Which is like, is Semos his child? Maybe, like, I don't know what they did. We don't meet Semos in the beginning, so that's only
Oh,
my thought.
he
My
is
other thing is,
God,
like,
and baby is Jesus.
yeah, well, I really like the reveal that Kalima was from a sign that said "Caution, live
Live
animals."
animals.
I think that that is like a fun way to take it. I kept
Wow, yeah.
expecting some sort of reveal with Semos because his name is like basically Moses, but they never did that. There's nothing there.
I didn't even realize. I didn't think about that at all. But yeah, you're right. It is right there. They didn't do anything with it. Why did we need 5 whole minutes of Tim Roth shooting himself? And he didn't actually ever shoot himself.
And then he's just cowered underneath.
And
I
he
don't
ju-
know. I kind of like.
I really thought he was gonna kill
it-
himself with the bullet, and he did it 40 times, and he never killed himself with a bullet. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
The
what's the
fact that he
point?
survives and then space travels in another ancient 1,000-year destructed pod. Like, I don't even know.
That
Right, like
doesn't
where
make
did he get another
sense.
time travel pod?
I really
It's
think
actually
it's
just like in Escape. He went into the pond where Mark Wahlberg first crash landed and he pulled it out. And then once they have Milo study it for a while, it gets operational again.
Of course.
Of
Or
course.
like, because it's just like, is that always Earth? Is the place that they've been the whole time that was Earth the whole time? And then because Mark Wahlberg left, there was no one there to stop Thade from a second rebellion, and then that's what happened. Like, that doesn't make any sense either, because it's fucking Washington D.C. the way that we know Washington D.C.
Mhm.
It doesn't actually. There's no way to make it make sense, because it doesn't
Yeah.
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
But
the
that's why
planet-
I want to just do Multitude of Madness. I just want to do
Yeah.
the highways of the space
Mhm.
time and the different universes, because anything can fucking happen when there's different universes, and that's why I don't like the Multitude of Madness shit, because I'm just like, okay, great, cool. So there's no rules. Thanks. Love that. Anything
Yeah,
Rules
can
are
they
fucking
there are no
make
happen.
it-
rules.
They make it very clear in this one that the planet that they land on is not Earth. They say it was
Yeah.
uncharted and uninhabited, and IMDb trivia says there's one moment where you're in the ape city and you can see 2 moons, so like it's not Earth. It's confirmed not
Mm,
Earth.
the
My
moon
question
did look really weird in one of the scenes. One of the parts I noticed the moon. It was like
Sure.
way too close. It was like as big as the whole screen.
Yeah. One thing that I want to know is how'd they get horses if this was an uncharted, uninhabited planet? We know how
There
the
are
apes
horses
got
all the
there, and we
time.
know how the people got there, but were there horses on that spaceship?
There could have
Maybe.
just
I mean,
been
Oh yeah.
maybe the horses were the planet's natural animals.
the true horror
We're
story of this movie is the way
role-playing
they
this.
domesticated those horses.
Uh-huh.
It was the Planet of the Horses before.
Yep. It
No,
was
he's
just
thinking
a
about the Planet of the
wild
Horses.
No, he's thinking about the poor horses who lost the power of speech over time.
No,
What's the
not the
song?
horses.
What's the song that's in Fear?
Um,
Oh,
Wild
It is Wild Horses. It's the one I just sang.
what? It's a clear
Drag me
Drag me away. Mark
Mhm.
Wahlberg, you little fuck. Anyway,
Oh,
I
you
feel
will
scared
reference your
saying that.
underwear career, but you'll reference fear.
Here's another thing I noticed. This is like $1 billion movie. That's not true, but there's a lot of money that went into this. I love to notice a continuity error. How do I notice it? A girly, just a girl in the world. Okay, sometimes that is part of my real life job. Sometimes it is to look at continuity errors, but to make sure they don't happen at the almost end of the movie. This is another just like sad part. What are the names? Attar, which is who was played by Michael Clark Duncan, who he slayed. He was so good. Who is the other guy? Gunner? Is that the guy who was on Team Humans?
I never knew his name, but maybe.
I don't know. The guy who was on Team Humans and then Attar, they had like beef, right? Whatever. And then
Yeah.
Attar fucking murks him, and it's super sad because we liked that guy. And then Attar like has this immediate come to Jesus, aka Simu moment minutes later, and he's like, they're all like looking over that ape's grave, and they're like, all of the apes and all of the humans will be together in unmarked graves. I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying, but it's also rude. But like, so we can all mourn them together. I'm like, it's nice, but also like let the families be able to know where their actual person is. But okay, whatever. And Ari's there
show
on the
no
ground.
respect to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's kind of the vibe. Ari like puts the sand over Ape, we don't know his name's face. And then they cut to a different take, and they're zoomed out and his face is still out. You can see it in the sand. And I was like, cool. I'm so glad I noticed that and you guys didn't. Like, it's like in another Mark Wahlberg movie where the fucking boom mic comes down during the dinner scene in The Happening. Mark Wahlberg breeds fucking inconsistencies
It's
because
his
everyone
fault, I
wants it to
think.
be over.
Right? They're like, what if
They
we
just
just
want it to be
get out
done.
of here right now?
There's like, and I'm like, all right, honestly, I get it. I'm such a Mark Wahlberg hater. I really had to look at him for
Same.
so
As you
much
should
during this
be.
movie. And I'm like, usually when people are like fucking apologists for someone who's done something fucking horrible, they're like, "Oh, I'm just so in love with him." I'm like, "Why? Literally, why? I don't get it at all. I can't even get it on any level. Like, he's not like so talented. He's not so sexy." I guess I've never seen his underwear modeling career, and I've never heard a Marky Mark song, so maybe that's really where the talent comes in that makes people stay, but not for me.
He is like objectively attractive looking in Fear, but if you're watching Fear, you know how horrendous he is. So he's not that sexy in that role because he's horrible. But he's obviously a little sexy for part of it. That's
In Fear, yeah, a little bit.
That's the
but, like,
plot, yeah.
That's the
A
plot.
little bit, but not even like so much to make you forget that he's done like race hate crimes.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, he's a horrible person, but he can still be like a little hot. Bad person.
Unfortunately, being
person.
hot doesn't preclude you from being a bad person.
Most
No,
of
There's
the
I
plenty
time
of
know,
being
it's
people
hot
who are hot.
makes
Yeah.
you a
confusing.
bad person.
It just, yeah, I think it might make you a bad person. Hot plus power equals bad person? Oh God, we better not get powerful because we're already all pretty hot.
Mm.
Dangerous.
I think they had been wanting to do a Planet of the Ape reboot for a really long time. Like they had started wanting to talking about it in like the 80s even. And I am sure somewhere along the way they could have had some really salient political points to make. And maybe there could have been stuff going on during the Reagan administration that could have been fodder for that. I don't know, because there is one line in this movie about the quote welfare state. But honestly, I think maybe they didn't wait quite long enough not to go back to 9/11 again. But there is a quote in this movie that's like, it's top of mind. That's like, extremism in defense of apes is no vice, Senator, which is to say, like, oh, there's nothing we can do that would be bad as long as we're defending our people. And I think in a post 9/11 world, someone who had very savvy political commentary to make could have had something to say about the war on terror, just so the United States felt like it was doing something or taking some kind of action or revenge or whatever. I don't know. I'm not the person to write that movie because I'm not the person to speak confidently on those topics. But when you're talking about like extremism, that felt like a really natural political conversation to have just a few months later even. But that wasn't what they didn't do that in this movie. They just said the human problem cannot be solved by simply throwing money at it. The government tried that once and all we got for it was a welfare state that nearly bankrupted us. I think the city has about as much diversity as I can handle. And that was it. So
yeah. It's just so disappointing to see the strong political statements fall by the wayside in this film. Like that is what is so exciting. It's like the coin flipped. It's like the exact opposite, not exact opposite, but it's like an opposite of the first 5 films, which are like the themes are theming, they're making these statements, but like it looks a little hokey and you just have to deal with that because it's fucking 1971, it's 1968, whatever, it is what it is. The mouths aren't going to move with the words and you just got to live with it, and I'm willing to grant that grace. And then this time we get something that looks incredible, so interesting. I feel like the costumes were so thought out, there's so much like
the CGI
it was
explosion
really
where the apes fly through the air.
I loved that. I thought it was
A lot
so
of apes
funny. I
in
laughed
the
out
air
loud.
in this movie.
I will say this is a movie that made me talk out loud to myself like the entire time. I was just like a crazy person, like they're doing that, like, which isn't a good thing. That's like me being incredulous. But anyway, like it's the exact flip. It's the other side of the coin. It's like it looks incredible. There's like the apes have like individuality. They each one looks different. They're dressed different. there's a fucking sex scene. Like they're doing all this different stuff.
There's
They have a bong. It's
bongs.
very exciting. Exactly. Yes. But then like the fucking soul
Yeah.
isn't there. The soul
It's
of
the
the film
substance versus
isn't really
style.
there.
Style.
Exactly. And Tim Burton's a style king. He has a very specific style. This is not necessarily, the style we expect from him, and good it shouldn't be. We don't want a bunch of gaunt white apes walking around. That wouldn't make any sense. But
Okay, but give me Planet of the Apes in Corpse Bride animation.
claymation, yeah.
Yeah.
I
stop
told you they
motion.
had an animated TV show in the 70s, but it wasn't Tim Burton style.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I want claymation
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes.
That would be.
I want a
fucking
really
so cool.
long, thin, gaunt chimpanzee.
Give me gothic.
I want a wayfish
chimpanzee.
chimp now. Give me that wayfish chimp. But yeah, no, it misses the soul. And then they try to slay with the twist, chimp Jesus, Abraham Lincoln. Like it's just
Chip
like
Jesus Abraham Lincoln.
it's just it's too much and not enough all at once. It's too bad. It's too bad. I love
Yeah.
to look at it.
It also is just like you mentioned that quote earlier. We'll leave the graves unmarked. No one who comes here will be able to tell apes from humans. They'll be mourned together as it should be from now on. And it's like, I don't believe that
That
you
solved
achieved
it.
that. All that you needed to happen, literally mid-war,
In 2 minutes.
Semos comes down, and somehow you go, oh, that must mean humans are equal? How does that mean that humans are going to be equal now?
Yeah.
Because he likes Mark Wahlberg, and then Mark Wahlberg steals his space pod and leaves him behind? Like, it doesn't make any sense how they get to, like, the conclusion that, oh, we must all be... Like, it doesn't make any sense. It literally makes no sense. Other than Thade is maybe trapped in that spaceship, so he's not there to call for martial law and to be warmongering and like Thade is indisposed, trapped in spaceship, and then gonna fly to Earth. So now he was actually the only one that wanted that, and now we can all go to equality. It doesn't make any sense.
It's so weird. And then we didn't even talk about how Thade is also like the Zeus of it all too, because he like kills those 2 apes who find Mark Wahlberg's ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. It's just they combine so many people into him.
And his
I don't
family is the
know.
one that has the gun hidden away in a special vase to
Take
show
that
what
vase,
humans
smash
used
it.
to have back in the day. And it's like, what is going on?
Somebody
Literally, what is going
help!
on?
Could you tell that chimp to pass the bong? I need it. Do we have more general movie thoughts? Are we ready for segments?
Or segmentos?
I think they did do some interesting stuff pulling from the originals. There are some really good references to the originals. They talk about how the humans are like raiding the orchard. So once again, it's to a degree about food supply. And there's a moment like in the original when Charlton Heston says, "Take your stinking paws off me, you damned dirty
Yes!
ape."
Yes.
There's the line where they're like, "Take
They
your
switch
stinking
it.
hands off me, you damned dirty human." And like he
I
has
thought
a
that
line.
was so funny, but it did make me laugh instead of be
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Yeah. There's another line where when he's being Zeus dying in the bed, he's like, "Damn them all to hell." And that's like his line at the end of the original movie, "God damn you all to hell." So like
Mhm.
I think they were trying to pay homage. They just were so focused on the production elements of it that they forgot to come up with something fresh to add to the conversation instead of just
Yeah.
recycling the same talking points without even like building meaningful emotional beats around them. They have
Mhm.
that dialogue with Dana and Ari where she's like, why do you have to be so difficult? And then she's like, oh, should I behave more like a slave? And then Ari's like, that's not what I meant. Blah, blah, blah. But like, that's that's the most meaningful moment of that in this movie. And it's just between two people who are bickering who are on the same side. So,
Yeah, no, they lost.
and it's just because they're in a love
A lot.
triangle, which maybe leads
Well,
us to.
that leads us into how could this movie be gayer? I love to see a love triangle situation, but forget Mark.
Yeah,
Ari,
no Mark.
Dana, come together, okay? Just release him. He's gone now anyway. He's gone
Yeah.
into the multiverse of madness. Forget
Maybe
about
there's a
him.
universe where, because they're both so into him and he's kind of only medium into either of them, there could be a moment where they bond over their grief of losing him and of missing him, and they grow closer together, because like they do seem to really not get along and not like each other throughout the movie until Dana sees that Ari has the brand on her hands. That was one thing that they did, the branding, which was
that
horrible.
was cool. Yeah, it was horrible, but it was
right,
like,
but it was an interesting new addition to the lore.
Yeah.
So that was like their only bonding moment, and it was like one blink and you'll miss it second. But I'm not that interested in it personally, but I can imagine that there could be a compelling enemies to lovers, long form lesbian romance for the two of them.
Mm-hmm. I think that would
But-
be really nice.
But in that, Pericles is gay. That's a gay little chimp.
That makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me.
It's so important to have
That's
gay,
a gay
chimp
little man.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We need
Jesus would be
not
gay.
just
Jesus
chimp
would be gay.
If you're gonna
Jesus.
have a
We
baby
need
Jesus,
gay
he
chimp
should be gay.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. I did think that was one of my other complaints. Sorry to go back to non-segment time. The first movie is so like religion versus science in such an interesting way, and then this movie is so like post-religion almost in many ways, where they do have Simos and that aspect of it, but then Ari the whole time keeps going, but religion could just be a fairy tale, blah 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 blah. It's so like they're not meaningfully engaging with what religion means to society, other than Simos comes back and the battle stops, and then they go, oh, perfect utopia now.
It's just surface level. Totally. But because they weren't talking about their religion that much, then they don't have that fucking weight on them. So there should have been more gay apes.
We should have seen
gapes, if you will.
Some gapes
Show
in
me your
that
gape.
Scooby-Doo montage. Don't say that.
Say it, Chelsea. She already did. Say it
Take it
louder,
back.
Sydney. Let
I
them
think it should be the
know.
title of the episode.
Gapes.
Gapes.
I don't like
I
that.
am hoping that I
Planet
forgot
of the
how
Gapes.
Rise. Is that what happens in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or whatever?
Is that they get gay?
Yeah,
Yeah, it gets
everybody's
gay.
gay.
The Dawn of the Gay Agenda. I hope so. I haven't seen that one. So I know that the apes aren't necessarily gay from my 2011 remembers of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So I can only hope that the films that come after it are just all gay apes for the rest of the time. Do we have more gay thoughts? We already talked about lesbian science woman, so
So many more gay thoughts, though.
okay. Matthew Lillard. Mark Wahlberg. Get rid of him. Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard, star of the movie. For the first time ever, Matthew Lillard, star of the movie. In 2001, he could be it. I could care about this movie if it was Matthew Lillard. I could care. I would be emotionally invested. Even the script stayed the same, he would have made me care.
I think that Matthew Lillard would have been able to bring, in the very little space that they had, a very beautiful, believable, loving relationship with Pericles, that he cares about him so much as to chase after him into an electromagnetic storm or whatever. Like,
because that didn't make sense to me. I thought he hated him before that. He seemed like he hated him.
He seems like, oh, like that's a little tool, like he's my chimp, and so it's like my property that I'm chasing after, and he's not disposable to me, but it doesn't really feel like he loves him.
It felt like he was going not after him to save him, but after him to prove that a man can do it better. That's what I thought was happening, like watching the movie. And so then by the end, when he felt compassion towards Pericles, I felt like he had gone on this emotional journey to like respect chimps. Because now he's seen them when they're hot and he's kind of maybe has a crush on one. So he's like, okay, maybe I should respect Pericles.
chimps can
aka
be
Chimp
sexy,
Jesus.
maybe they do
That-
deserve my respect.
Exactly. That's how it makes sense for Mark Wahlberg.
No,
Anyway.
unfortunately, I just don't think he learned that much at all. He
certainly
said, well,
didn't
that
know
was a
that
crazy
chip at the
adventure.
beginning.
Gotta get back to Earth now.
He was like,
And I'm leaving
later.
Pericles here.
He's like, oh, I gotta go like right now. I'm gonna go into space in this tiny little pod with no fucking space helmet, with no astronaut helmet. I was like, okay, dude, this is a death wish. Later. That's another thing that really bothered me both times. I mean, I guess the second time he was like, I'm on Earth, so I can breathe the air. But like, I know that he was drowning, but he just like rips his fucking
Yeah.
helmet off immediately. Like, at least in Planet of the Apes OG 68, they were like,
Check the
other
atmosphere.
man, check the atmosphere or
Dodge.
whatever. Dodge. Yeah. Dumb. Okay,
Dumb.
Matthew Lillard starred. Matthew Lillard
Mhm.
star.
He would have been beautiful.
He would be beautiful. I don't want him anywhere else. Paul
And I
Giamatti
think he's
stays.
so tall and lanky that Tim Burton would have really loved to work with him.
He could have.
Yeah, he could have.
He would have been waif chimpanzee.
He could have been the waif chimpanzee.
Chimpanzee.
That's the waifish chimpanzee we were looking for. Thank God. Matthew Lillard, come in, save the day. Go back in time. Matthew Lillard can go through the time loop or whatever and go back in time.
Yeah.
He's the only one who's allowed, and he has to go back just to save this movie. What would happen?
Matthew Lillard would,
He would
in
stop
a
9/11.
different Planet of the Apes movie, Mark Wahlberg goes even further back in time, and then Matthew Lillard is playing Abraham Lincoln, real person, not statue.
I would
I
love an Abraham Lincoln biopic
With Matthew Lillard as the star.
with
Uh-huh.
Matthew Lillard.
And he is doing cocaine.
Okay, let's start crowdfunding for that.
YouTube
okay,
series
that brings
right
us-
now.
Oh my god. That brings us to dumb bitch. The dumb bitch is Tim Burton.
The dumb bitch
making
is the script.
The dumb bitch might
Dumb
be
bitch is
20th
the
Century Fox.
That's a
Dumb
good
bitch might be
one.
20th Century Fox.
Because
Dumb
Tim
bitch
Burton
is
is not
always Mark
proud of-
Wahlberg.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
always Mark Wahlberg. But Tim Burton is not proud of his work product here. He, I think, seems very ashamed of his work product here. So
This is like everything that I did read in my 5 minutes was like, this is the beginning of 10 years of shit from Tim Burton, which I resent because fucking Corpse Bride came
Bride was
out
in the
during that
middle of
time.
this.
And I think that that is wrong.
That's a
but
masterpiece
yeah,
of a
like,
movie.
Big Eyes or whatever the fuck came out during that time. That did not do well. I've always
What is
wanted to see
Big
that
Eyes?
though.
that's
It's
the
Amy
one with Amy
Adams.
Adams, and she has all of the paintings of the little babies with the huge eyes, and I don't know anything else about it beyond that.
That's all I know about it as well.
I've
but I
literally
know
never
it
even
was-
heard of that
It
one.
was not beloved. It was not beloved.
I remember the
Mm.
trailers.
But I'm still intrigued. Yeah, no, I think like Mark has to take it. And it's so rare for
But
us.
also,
to
we did
do
get
a
Big
dumb-
Fish.
I love Big Fish.
Yeah. And
That's
that was
where our
in
photo shoot
2003.
took place. If you look at our
Exactly.
website, spookytuesdaypod.com, all those pictures, we are taking them at the set of Big Fish.
So I was like, okay, Tim Burton did have some bangers in the middle of some
That-
of his shit movies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I do not stand by what Collider said. They were like, "Oh, it's a bad 10 years." Everybody has some stinkers. You can't have a beautiful work
Mhm.
product at all times, but you also don't have to be racist, which he might be, definitely is. So, he's still getting an honorary dumb bitch because he's himself. But
Once
the real
again,
dumb bitch is Mark Wahlberg. How perfect for them to work together, actually.
Yeah.
How
Oh my
interesting.
god, I bet they really got along.
Wow, really
Apparently,
meeting of minds.
Mark Wahlberg did not even need a script for this movie. He had a 5-minute meeting with Tim Burton, and then he went, do it. So
huh.
maybe he should have waited to see more. I don't know.
I'm glad it's him who's in it, so no one else.
Yeah, so it's not
He
changing
deserves
anybody
to
else's
be embarrassed.
career.
Exactly. And it didn't
yeah.
stop him from doing anything else afterwards. So we
Um,
just got that helicopter movie with him and Topher Grace.
Mm.
Jesus.
Looked so
yeah.
bad. He was
Yeah.
malevolently bald in it.
Very threatening aura.
Threatening
But yeah,
aura.
there are so many dumb bitches involved with this movie, both in the cast and crew whose names we know and in people behind the scenes. Like there was another proposed ending where they were gonna land at a baseball game and then it was gonna be revealed that everyone is apes, and I think that could have been very fun, and then they didn't do that. But again, Abraham Lincoln is, if you're gonna do anything, that is absolutely the thing
That's
to do.
Slade. That's Slade.
But
I was
I
screaming. I was
I
screaming out loud.
screamed the first on Friday when I watched this for the first time. I was like, "Oh my god!"
I was so mad. I was like, "What are the implications of this?" Like, blah, blah, blah.
Right?
Like, it sent
What
me
does
into a
this
rage the
mean?
first time that I watched this movie.
Yeah, no, what does it mean? Because then it's like, did Thade Abraham Lincoln like free the human slaves? No.
Right?
Was it the regular Lincoln Memorial, and then as he took over the planet, they changed it to be an ape? Was it like society
Yeah.
developed in exactly the
Yeah.
same way, but with apes
Did all of humans have?
instead? I don't. There's no explanation. They were gonna get into it in a sequel that never got made because this movie's a fucking stinker. So
Like a raging chimpanzee right now. I'm like, ah! Like just thinking about. I hadn't thought about like the history of time in relation to Abraham Lincoln. I could
outrageous,
call him just
absolutely
Ape
outrageous.
Lincoln, but I like Abraham
Abraham
Lincoln.
Lincoln's way better.
Abraham Lincoln
Yeah, I
is
like
so
it's
much
way better. Okay,
The
everyone's a dumb
idea
bitch. I
that-
want to die.
Yeah. The idea that not just everything evolved in the same way in the sense that they would end up making an Abraham Lincoln memorial as well, but that it would have exactly the same design is like, what is that? You guys need to chill out and start over.
What does it mean? They were like, it'll just be style over substance. It'll be cunty. It was.
And it is.
It is. But now I'm thinking about it, and now I'm gonna think about it all night. Fuck you. I don't want to think about it anymore.
It made me so mad the first time I watched this movie. It made me crazy mad.
Well,
Which
I'm
is,
mad
like-
now because I didn't have time to
No.
decompress. I just came right here to talk to you.
And you're just excited about Abraham Lincoln and it being the same as
Yeah.
the books. Yeah, I knew you would like that.
Yeah, no, I did like that they gave me that. But like it didn't mean as much because it wasn't like
Yeah.
the journey with his family or whatever. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not that deep. Knives out of fives.
Knives out of fives. Knives out of fives. You'll be happy to know that everybody agrees this movie's a stinker. On IMDb, this movie has a 5.7 out of 10, which is really not so bad. It's not the end of the world. However, on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has 43% rotten from critics and 27% rotten from audiences. And that 27% from audiences, I think, is lower than any of the ones in the original, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think so. One of them had 30 something, but 27
Yeah.
is lower.
27 is lower.
In
so.
case you didn't know, 27 is lower than 30.
Oh my
Quick
god, I
math.
didn't know actually. I'm so bad at math.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay, and then in terms of awards, it did win some. There were much more awards to just be had in general as compared to when the older ones came out. There's so many more
Teen
festivals
Choice
in the
Award.
world these days. So at the 2002 MTV Movie and TV Awards, it was nominated for Best Villain for Tim Roth as Thade and for Best Cameo for Charlton Heston. Which is crazy that the MTV Awards was like, we gotta give Charlton Heston a shout out, but he didn't win. It's just
So
a
important.
nomination.
Oh.
And then at the 2001 Teen Choice Awards, it was nominated for Movie of the Summer. These two, I don't really know what one of them is talking about, but Mark Wahlberg was nominated for Choice Hissy Fit. And he was also nominated for Choice Wipeout, and I have to just assume that's about his crash landing.
I love Choice Hissy Fit as an
Choice
award.
Hissy Fit. I'm like, what hissy fit in the movie are they referring to, I wonder? But it doesn't matter enough to
Who's
me
to
to
say?
Yeah.
Oh, is it when he shoots the gun? No?
I don't know. I don't know.
Could be that. That was a hissy
It could
fit.
be
Anyway,
that.
keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
It was nominated. The score soundtrack was by Danny Elfman, of course. Who else would it be by?
Yeah, duh.
Wow.
of course, yeah.
but that was nominated for a 2002 Grammy Award. There were various other awards that it was nominated for, like for makeup
about
and costume
Razzie?
design and stuff like that. Yeah, the 2001 Razzie Awards. It won Worst Supporting Actor for Charlton Heston, shared with two other movies that he was in that year, I guess. And it won Worst Supporting Actress for Estella Warren, who played Dana. And it won Worst Remake or Sequel, which
Okay,
is
that one-
incredibly deserved.
Deserved.
Yeah, and then also at
Poor
the 2001,
Estella. It's not
I
her
know.
fault. Leave her alone.
not
Jessa
her
looks
fault
just like
that the
Rosie
writing is
Huntington
terrible.
Washington, and I feel so bad because I thought that was who that was the whole time, and it's a whole nother bitch. And her career did not go so good after that. Never mind. No, I didn't say that. She's fine. She's been
Who are you
working.
talking about?
Estella.
Who was the other person you were saying?
I was saying the same thing, same person. Oh, Rosie Huntington Washington or whatever.
Oh,
Whitlier.
Rosie Huntington Whitley from Transformers.
Oh, Whitley Washington. I just looped
Who's
her into
married
the
We're
Washington
still in
family.
Abraham
Jason
Lincoln
Statham?
world.
She's
You know,
married to Jason
I'm happy for
Statham?
them.
Yeah,
I love that couple.
I
That's
love them. They're so
incredible
I
couple.
hot.
thought she was that the one who replaced my one true beloved. Oh my god, sorry, I'm getting distracted because I'm on her IMDb and she was in a zombie movie and there's zombies on the screen and it's very disturbing. Rosie Huntington, whatever
Whitley?
her name is, Whitley. She was the one who replaced Megan Fox in Transformers. I was
Uh-huh.
very upset about that at the time, but she was great in it and she was very good looking. So sorry, Estella.
Wasn't Mark Wahlberg also in Transformers?
Yeah, he was eventually in one of the Transformers. And I think
I don't wanna
Isabella
even-
Moner played his daughter, something like that. Anyway, at the 2001 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, sorry Estella, she was also nominated for Worst Supporting Actress there, although she didn't win. And Tim Burton was nominated for Worst Sense of Direction. And then this movie was also nominated for Worst Screenplay for a film grossing more than $100 million using Hollywood math. And I don't really know the dig that they're making with the Hollywood math thing, unless it didn't actually gross $100 million. I don't know. But
Who's to say, not us.
it does deserve worst screenplay and worst. It didn't even win those, which is crazy. I wonder what else won, but
Right? Like,
have
what
bad
did this
news.
lose?
what beat it at the
Yeah.
2001 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards? I'm gonna look it up.
I have bad news.
Uh-oh.
She's won 2 awards, and I think no. She's been nominated for like a lot of Razzies and Stinker Bad Movies awards. Not like a lot, but like
No.
for her other most well-known movies, she also got nominated for a Razzie and a Stinker Bad Movie Award, which is Kangaroo Jack. She was in Kangaroo Jack, which I haven't seen.
I
But she
saw it
got
in
a
theaters.
nom for that. And she was also in a movie called Driven, and she was also nominated for Worst Supporting Actress. But she did get nominated for a movie, for Maverick Movie Awards in 2017 for a movie called Just Within Reach for Best Actress Feature. So, Renaissance.
There we
Estella
go.
Renaissance. What's
Okay.
happening now? Anyway.
Well, I can tell you that the person who beat her for Worst Supporting Actress that year was Tori Spelling in Scary Movie 2. So that is not a deserved win because Tori Spelling slayed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck?
They just
Yeah, it's
didn't
supposed to be
understand.
bad.
First
What the
Spelling was
fuck?
great in that movie.
Did
Shannon
you guys hear that
Elizabeth is one of the other
Megalopolis
nominees.
won the
for
Razzie
King
for
Ghost.
worst movie? Did you hear that?
Well,
Megalopolis
I
won
think
this year's.
didn't see but
and
deserved.
Is it Francis Ford Coppola who did that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He like
he's
self-financed
fucking pissed.
it.
He's pissed. He's like, I'm sorry that you can't understand. I'm sorry that I did something that was different that what you were expecting. But the fucking movie making machine just puts out the same shit year after year, and I'm doing something different.
Again, he's
I respect
also
that.
not wrong.
He is. He's not wrong. He did something different. It's not for everyone.
At the 2001
Right.
Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, Josie and the Pussycats won for most annoying on-screen group. So these people don't know what they're talking about.
These
Fuck
people
them,
don't understand
bye.
cinema.
There are
Okay,
so many
who's the-
nominations in here for Rat Race also, and that movie's great. So shut up.
The only opinions that matter are our 3
Ours.
opinions. So who wants to
Mhm.
go first?
I'll go. I'm gonna give this movie a 2 out of 5 knives. And I
Generous,
think
honestly.
I'm being so generous. But like again, the set, the makeup, like everything like that, slayed. Like whenever my brain would allow me to like really engage with this movie, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I guess it's really pretty though. Um Also shout out to Rick for making gorillas not have weird gigantic heads.
Yeah, except for that one,
Figuring
but
out
that
how to
one
keep
was
it contained.
intentional and it looked
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, like it wasn't just malformed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But I was just like I was missing
big bouffant.
it was like I don't know, they were missing a lot of the original charm of the original ones.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, why couldn't you just give me the original plot and this cooler, newer makeup? And honestly,
Now
that
that
would have
technology has evolved.
like that would have fucking slayed.
Yeah, it was already good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, give me somebody else besides Mark Wahlberg as lead.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Please.
Matthew Lillard preferred, but anybody else.
Yeah. I'll go. I think I'm gonna give it. I want to give it a 2 because of the makeup, but I want to give it worse than that because of everything else. I'm gonna give it a 1.8. The Mark Wahlberg of it all really brings it down into the one department. I mean, I've already said exactly everything that I want to say here, but like it really is what I said earlier. Like they flipped the coin to the other side. We had an improvement on the aesthetics of everything that like might have irked you in the original ones, but you have to forgive because that was just the technology of the time. I it looked incredible. It really looked incredible. I loved, yeah, some of the like uncanny valley human-y chimps. That was a little bit weird, but like I liked it still. I liked that they, I don't know, I think it like showed how like evolution if we're going back to science, you know, and how like chimps and we're like descended from them in actual reality or whatever it actually is. We're not descended from chimps, but like we came from
The
the same
Could be.
evolutionary
thingy.
ladder
Exactly.
is what
Same.
they say in this
Yeah.
movie.
Exactly. Like, okay, it's a nod to that maybe, and it coming back around. I think that's interesting. They didn't get into that though. They didn't get into that though. I think it was interesting when they did the little sex dance thing and the screaming and the whatever. That reminded me of the book. Very exciting. But like it was just that. It was just that. It was just the Paul Giamatti of it all. Paul Giamatti being there, being himself, literally himself. He almost looks like himself, but he's an orangutan. Like there are so many things that they could have done with this that they didn't do, and instead they did 14,226 other things all at once, and it was too much. I do love the final twist ending. I think it is so interesting, but again, they took it one step too far to make it rewrite history. Like I think it doesn't make sense no matter what. Honestly, to make it Abraham Lincoln, you can't make that make sense. Like but I do love that they tried to get back to that ending that Pierre Boulle wrote because it is such a powerful ending in my opinion. And it's something that I've been waiting to see, and I knew it was coming because Chelsea made a face.
I was like, I didn't spoil that. I hadn't seen it.
I'm
Sorry.
trying my best not to, but I can only
No,
do
I'm
so
not mad.
much.
I'm literally not mad. I'm not mad. I was excited. I was excited to see it happen because I've already read the book, so you know you get a innate
Yeah.
spoiler by reading the book that something is based on. But yeah, it was very interesting. I'm not mad that I watched it. I'm really glad it was part of our lineup because it's interesting to see how people can fail with this source material.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
having the
we
vision
couldn't have
of
not
$1
talked
million.
about it.
Yeah, I think it was really really interesting. I think it's so interesting to see them try at this decade and have nothing to say, and so it doesn't succeed. This movie has to have something to say. So I can't remember if our next movie has something to say, but it might start to. So I don't know. I think the goal the good part about Planet of the Apes is the political nature of it
Yeah.
and the statements that it's making. And so when it's not doing those eloquently, then it's a failure. So anyway, 1.8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get more into the politics of Rise as we cover Rise next week.
Yeah.
What we can promise, at least, is that Rise has like a good emotional storyline, which this movie does not. Like, you're not meaningfully rooting
Yes.
for any
I
of the
don't care about
characters. You
anyone.
don't care about any of the relationships. Everything is like very just surface level the whole time. Like, oh, Thade wants to be with
Cheesy.
Ari for his political ambitions, but like if his dad was a senator and he's descended from Semos, why does he need her political capital, especially if she is like kind of an outcast for being a human sympathizer or whatever? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just there to like add tension maybe, but it's not that it's not effective at all. Like, you're not feeling anything really as the audience. I don't think it's funny. They do try and add silly little bits in there, but it doesn't do, it's not, to me, like, it's just not very good comedy.
You just hate Paul
It's not-
Giamatti.
I mean, he's doing
I'm
his
kidding, I'm
thing, and
kidding,
good for
I'm kidding.
him. But it wasn't enough comedy to be like, this movie is funny, or this movie is, it doesn't feel silly goofy. It feels like they tried really hard and they flopped really fucking hard.
Yeah, no. Facts.
And it's just so disappointing to see a remake from this franchise pull so many good homages, trying to sort of wink at so many themes, and just not have anything new to add to the conversation other than updated hair and makeup and costume design and a bigger budget and new CGI technology. Like, that really was the only thing that they brought that has anything on the originals. And then also Mark Wahlberg is there, which makes it really just hard to stomach. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm going to be, I think even harsher than both of you. I think I'm going to give it like a 1.3 because to me, there are so few redeeming qualities here. One of the only things I like is how unreasonably horny Ari is for him. And the fact that he's Mark Wahlberg makes that hard to enjoy too.
No,
So
yeah.
Right?
It's like, why, girl? Why?
why, girl?
Go
What
for
about
anyone
him?
else.
Well, don't you understand that Mark Wahlberg is specialer than everybody else in this universe, and he would have stopped 9/11? So, do we need to say anything else? Like, I just,
So dumb.
I'm
Well,
glad that
okay.
we've done it so we can wash our hands of
It's
it.
done. We wash our hands of it. But Planet of the April will continue next week, and it is a grand finale. We are aping out. We've been aping out, and we might almost be aped out, but
out.
not yet. We're not aped out yet.
I'm right on the verge.
Right on the verge of being
We've
aped
got
out.
one more movie and then aped out.
One more. This is the only one that I had seen before. And I fucking loved it when it came out. It came out in 2011. I was just graduating high school. Big momentous time for me. And boy, did Rise of the Planet of the Apes really shape me as a person. I don't know if that's true, but I do remember being shaken by a lot of it. And the one thing I will say, and I'm not trying to be negative, I do think it is a tragedy that we never got a good one with very incredible practical effects. And a good movie at the same time, because that we had that moment in 2001. We had a chance. That chance is over. Just so you don't expect practical effects in this one, we do have CGI, but we do have the king of motion capture working in that role, which I won't say more, but you'll see. But this has an incredible cast. It has James Franco, who at the time was someone that I was very interested in as I was starting UCLA, and he was a UCLA alumni, and so I was very excited about it. But it also has Brian Cox in it, which I totally forgot. It has John Lithgow, which is incredible. It's got Tom Felton, Draco Malfoy himself.
Draco Malfoy, what are you doing here?
I love him in this. Yeah,
Did someone say Draco Malfoy?
I am excited to watch this again with my adult human 2025 eyes, because I really, really, really remember loving this movie back in the day. So I can't wait to see if it holds up.
I've also never seen this one, so
Brand new eyes, baby, brand new eyes. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll get into it. We'll close out the apes on hopefully a high note. And you'll see it all next week. But in the meantime, why not give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and say, I'm sorry you had to look at Mark Wahlberg for 2 whole hours, exactly 2 hours. Luckily, actually, the credits were 7 minutes long, so it was a little
credits
bit.
are still. Was there a hidden scene in there now, I'm wondering, or was it just fully
I
7 minutes of
scrubbed.
credits?
I scrubbed through it, and I didn't show anything. Where I watched it on Disney Plus, it shows you like everything that you go over. So don't worry, we didn't miss one moment of Mark Wahlberg's face, but we did see all the rest of them, and so you should say, I'm so sorry. You did a good job talking about that, though. Thanks for reminding everyone that he's bad. 5 stars. And in a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify, and we know that that's what you meant. And also, I think comments are back on Spotify, so if you really want to say something to us, you can comment on the episode there. Only nice things, though, as we've stated before. And why not follow us on social media? We're at Spooky_Tuesday on pretty much everything, except for Facebook and Tumblr, where we're at Spooky Tuesday Pod. You will be seeing so many apes this month. You need to get on there. You need to see them. It's incredible. And also, we have a website, spookytuesdaypod.com. It's a one-stop shop to see everything about us. It is incredible, including those photos I was referencing of us on the Big Fish set. So if you're a Tim Burton stan, an early aughts Tim Burton stan, you can see some Easter eggs in there with us. It's pretty beautiful. And also we have our Patreon on there as well. If you'd like to join us, we are having a good time every day over on Patreon and on Discord. So please join us, join our cult, and we'll have a wonderful time. It'll be truly marvelous. We won't bring up Mark Wahlberg. Don't worry. We might, just to talk shit. And then also, we are on YouTube. Today, we just look really gorgeous, but I did think about trying to be a human from the 2001 Planet of the Apes when I got dressed today. So that's all I'm really bringing
I
to the
kind of
table.
got those vibes.
I'm wearing brown. And I have
The netting of it.
Yeah, and I've got the little, like, this little skirt thing that's, like, ripped up little pieces of stuff. Anyway, and I'm wearing only
fabric.
I'm wearing a bra thing, so it's kind of like a loincloth for women. Anyway, if you're interested in that, go on YouTube. And we're so close to 500 subscribers, so please help us monetize. And at the end of the day, we have to say, so sorry you had to watch this movie, but thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, Spookies.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Great18. That's GR818_. And our podcast art is by Ryan Brom, who you can follow on Instagram at Ryan Brom Art. That's RyanBrommArt. Learn more about Spooky Tuesday at spookytuesdaypod.com and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/spooky_Tuesday.